Mock Draft Friday. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We do have a mailbag coming up a little bit later. I suspect we'll get to some of our news items in that show because we have a lot of news items, but we have a draft that is starting right now. And we got the whole gang here. Dave, Heath, and Jamie are here to break down this mock draft. We're all picking. Jamie has the second pick in the draft, Heath the 12th, and Dave and I are in the middle. Dave is 5th, I think, and I'm 9th, and we'll tell you about our teams, but also we have 7 viewers or listeners joining in this draft as well. So you're getting ready for a draft. This should be a pretty helpful episode. And here we go. I'm not even going to introduce the guys. Let's just get started here. It's 3 receivers. It's full PPR. There is a flex. We have 6 bench spots, so it's a 14-round league. And as of now, we have a minute on the clock in between picks. Might have to shorten that at some point. But the first pick is Justin Jefferson. And Jamie, you're on the clock.
I think I'll just go with the easy choice here of Jamar Chase.
Okay. Jamar Chase is the pick. Dave, you have the 5th pick.
I do.
Give me your top 3 right now. You got 3 players in your queue. You know you're going to get one of them. Who are they going to be?
Well, I've got 3 players in my queue. It's McCaffrey, it's Eckler, it's Bijan Robinson, but I'm making it a point to draft players that I don't have many shares of. Fortunately, there is a player who I just named that I don't have a lot of shares of. And so if he makes it to me at 5, I'm going to take him. And that's the rookie.
Okay. McCaffrey was the 3rd pick. And Tyreek Hill, the 4th pick. So now you have to decide between Eckler and Bijan.
And then so this is where I'm using this as a testing ground. And it's not exactly what I want to do. I would take Eckler here. But I'm going to take Bijan instead because I want to see what it's like.
All right.
You know what? It's going to look like the same damn thing. You know who I'm taking? I'm taking Travis Kelce. I haven't taken him yet.
There you go.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if you're going to switch things up, and I love the idea of switching and trying new things, like taking a young running back instead of an old running back, I'm not sure accomplishes that goal.
Right. That
taking the tight end at 5.
It's like it hit me. Like, it's almost like you gave ESP and I caught it in my brain. I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I should do. Went with Kelce. Let's see how this turns out.
Yeah, the only thing maybe that I'd say about that is I did have a league where I took Eckler 4th, I think, and then I took Devontae Adams, and I felt like, ooh, man, I brought this up on the show the other day, I think. That's a little too old for me. I don't love having 2 players who are typically past the age where a player at that position is good as my first 2 picks. So at least you won't have that problem with Bijan in the first round. Kelce is the pick at 5. We're waiting for Doug to make the pick at 6. Come on, Doug. Don't auto. Yeah. Come on. What are you doing? You're with Patty Mayonnaise right now? Make this pick. All right. I gave him another minute. Let's see if he's in the.
I think we should just let him auto pick. That's going to happen in some people's drafts. They need to be prepared for what happens if somebody goes on auto pick and starts taking the top projected player every round.
I think I'm going to do top player in the rankings of the analysts that just drafted, most recently drafted, if there's an auto pick. So Dave just drafted. So if Doug does not make the pick, I will give him Dave's best player, highest rated player, which would be Austin Eckler.
Quick, I got to change my rankings.
Let me promote a few things while we're here. And we've got all of our draftathon items that are available. You can find them at tinyurl.com/FFT donate. And that includes a spot in the Leftovers podcast league. So that's a 10-team super flex half PPR league. Heath and I share a team, and it's 9 audience members. So if you want to bid on that, that's available at tinyurl.com/FFT donate. We've got live streams every Tuesday night. Oops, sorry about that. I got to mute that computer. Live streams every Tuesday night to help you get ready for your drafts. We have the mailbag coming up later. You can email us at fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. You can write us an Apple Podcast 5-star review with a comment about why you like the show and a question, and we'll read most of those on the air. And the last thing is the Fantasy Football Today Championship. It's a tournament between all of you, anybody who wants to join. Basically, there are a limited number of spots available in the managed leagues. Those are like 12-team leagues that end up in a tournament. But the best ball is open. Go there. Go to our Facebook page if you want the information. There's a Google form to fill out. We ask, it's an optional St. Jude donation. On the Google form, there's a link to where you can donate. Put FFT Championship when you donate so we can attribute it, say we raised this much money, whatever. But it's just a way to play more fantasy football, either best ball or a 12-team managed league. Please go to our Facebook page. Just search for Fantasy Football Today on Facebook. I think I promoted enough things there. The last 3 picks after Dave took Kelsey were Eckler, Kupp, and Bijan. So we've had 8 picks. It's basically the same 8 in every draft, right? It's Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, Hill, Kelsey, Eckler, Kupp, and Bijan. That was the order here. Hill going a little earlier than I expected. So that brings me to my pick here. And, you know, it's PPR and it's 3 receivers. It's an easy Stephon Diggs for me. The only thing that doesn't make it so easy is I think the wide receivers in the second round might be better than the running backs. I don't think Barkley or Pollard will make it to me, but I could easily go with two wide receivers to start. So let me take Stephon Diggs as the 9th overall pick. And we shall see if Pollard makes it back to me. Heath, you've got Barkley as the 10th pick. You're on deck, Heath. Who are the 2 players in your queue right now?
Well, I've got 3 because I get to make 2 picks in a row, but it was Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Tony Pollard. So it looks like I am going to be drafting the Cowboys. Now, I'm just really going to struggle here for a moment with, do I want to take a running back in round 1 or do I want to start with a wide receiver? But regardless, it's going to be the same 2 guys. My number 10 player, my number 11 player, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. And all right, that brings us to Austin, who took Amon-Ra St. Brown just before Heath was going to take him. And with the best players available are Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. We have Nick Chubb. Devontae Adams just went. So I am on deck, and I know people in this draft are probably watching the stream, but I am hoping for Nick Chubb here. If it's not Nick Chubb, I'll probably take a wide receiver. And Derrick Henry went. So I will take Nick Chubb and go Diggs and Chubb with my first 2 picks. That means that the team picking 10th started with Barkley and Derrick Henry. Jamie, what do you think about that? Not taking a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, starting with Barkley at 10 and then Derrick Henry in the second round.
Perfectly fine with Barkley in the first round. Hate the Derrick Henry pick in the second round. I would have definitely taken either A.J. Brown or Garrett Wilson, who was on the board. Brown would have been my preference. But yeah, I don't like that running back duo. I don't think Derrick Henry should go in that spot ahead of those wide receivers.
Adam,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I had a question for you about the Nick Chubb pick because I've been thinking about this, and I know, like, from a running efficiency basis, why this is the case, but from an actual fantasy football scoring basis and PPR, what do you think is the reason for the big gap between Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon? Mixon's a year younger. They both saw their number 2 running back disappear last year. Mixon's been slightly better in full PPR, I think, but they've kind of gone back and forth in where they finish. Chubb's a borderline round 1 pick, and Mixon goes in round 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question.
I don't think we'll see that gap continue, but I do think that Chubb has a higher ceiling.
I mean, look, if I felt like Mixon was going to make it back to me in round 3, I wouldn't have taken Chubb there. I think there's no chance Mixon will, but it's a great question. I think Mixon might just stink and they could get away from him.
He had another auto pick, by the way.
Oh, who was it? Mahomes? All right. That's a fine time for Mahomes. We'll keep that. What's your take on that, Heath?
Well, I've got them, I think, back to back at the 2-3 turn. So that's kind of why I was asking. I don't have an answer for why Chubb's going so much higher.
I think it's because there's a lot of people who believe that Kareem Hunt's departure will lead to Nick Chubb just getting every touch. And he's already been like one of the best running backs in the NFL. Like, if I asked you to name who are the top 5 running backs, forget about fantasy.
Right.
You know, but Chubb's going to be on your list.
And I think that's the point of contention that I have, is like, it does seem like Chubb's going around earlier because we just view him as a better player, but it's been 5 years now that these guys have both been in the NFL, and that difference has not really shown up the last 3, at least in terms of fantasy production. And I think in a non-PPR league, it's a really easy thing. But in PPR, Mixon might catch 40 more passes than Nick Chubb this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. I think I'm hoping for a more expanded role in the passing game, maybe something like 30 catches for Nick Chubb. As I said, in the 8 games in 2019 before Kareem Hunt arrived, he was on pace for 53 catches. And then as soon as Kareem Hunt arrived, he lost that role. I'm hoping for the best offense that he's ever played on. And that's actually something we saw from Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had his best season when the Bengals offense got better. So I'm hoping for that. Of course, we should probably talk about that report, the scathing report about how bad the passing game has looked. The Athletic Jamie, you just took Josh Jacobs. I think we should talk about that. Maybe we'll do that when Amari Cooper gets drafted or something. But let's catch up on round 2 here. After I took Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Patrick Mahomes, which was an auto pick, but 19th overall. I don't even know if he'll make it that far in most drafts. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So after Nick Chubb went, Calvin Ridley, wow, went in round 2. It's 6 wide receivers and Mahomes, or is it 5 wide receivers and Mahomes? Wilson, Waddle, Mahomes. Dave took A.J. Brown, then Devontae Smith, then Calvin Ridley. And then, Jamie, you went with Josh Jacobs. You still had Jonathan Taylor on the board. Joe Mixon went right after you took Jacobs. Why did you take Jacobs there?
I feel more comfortable with Jacobs at this point than I do with Taylor. And I didn't want to go back-to-back Bengals there. Just, I don't want to do what Heath's doing. So taking Jamar Chase in round 1, I would not have taken Mixon at that point. So Jacobs was my highest rated player, and I had no problem taking him in that spot. He could end up being a steal if he's there for week 1 and doing what Josh Jacobs is capable of doing.
Right. So then Giggity, who has the first pick overall, took Justin Jefferson. At the 2-3 turn, Giggity went Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor. And it is just crazy right now to be drafting when Taylor and Jacobs are available close to the 2-3 turn. It's exciting. It's also a little risky. But all right, Jamie, I suspended the draft because I want you to talk out your pick for everybody. You have Jamar Chase and Josh Jacobs. You've got Josh Allen. You have Jalen Hurts on the board. You also have Chris Olave and T. Higgins. I doubt you're taking Higgins with Chase. You have Mark Andrews on the board. What are you going to do here and why?
I'm going to skip quarterback because I don't really love taking quarterbacks early. So I'm going to go with Chris Olave because I also don't want to take Mark Andrews. So have not gone this route yet in any of our drafts. And so I'm going to take Olave here with the second pick of the 3rd round. All
right. Dave, you're 3 spots away from drafting. Now, here's a scenario for you. In the first round, you took Kelsey. Then A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Josh Allen is off the board, but Jalen Hurts is on the board. Would you consider a stack there of Brown and Hurts?
I would, but there's one receiver left that I would take if he makes it to me at 29th overall.
Deebo Samuel just went. So Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I need another pick like that.
Calvin Ridley went 22nd and Deebo Samuel went 27th.
Ooh, it happened. I got there.
All right, but now, okay, Jalen Hurts goes. So now Dave's on the clock. Are you going to take Higgins or are you going to take Josh Allen?
Those are the only 2 names in my queue. So good on you for recognizing that. I know that Josh Allen's amazing. It's a pretty good value, but this is a 3 receiver league and I'm trying to do something different. And I don't want to take a quarterback and a tight end with 2 of my first 3 picks. Not when I've got to start 3 wide receivers. I'm going to take T. Higgins.
All right, let's say this had been a 2 running back, 2 receiver flex league.
Might have taken Josh Allen, maybe.
Okay. Oh, the person who took Mahomes, auto-picked Mahomes, should we just give him Josh Allen? I guess I'm making picks for him. What do you think?
Give him Isaiah Pacheco.
How about, why don't we give this team Mark Andrews and see how that works out with no wide receivers in the first 3 rounds. So that would be Eckler, Mahomes, Mark Andrews. Picking 6th out of the 6th spot. Jamie, Ridley in round 2, Deebo early round 3. Your thoughts?
I don't like it. I think it's just too soon. Certainly for Deebo, but I think in terms of Ridley, you probably could have gotten him in round 3. So I don't love those 2 picks based on where you're drafting them. I think it feels a little bit just like a reach. Obviously, if they hit, they're going to be fantastic. But you're asking Ridley to be completely the same guy that he was after missing a year and a half, and you're asking Deebo to recreate one season that he's had comparatively to the 3 others. And I just don't think that's realistic for both of them.
All right. I've got 2 players in my queue. I'm up next. And my 2 favorite players here are Josh Allen and Travis Etienne. I will take one of them, which is interesting. I don't love not having 2 wide receivers at this point, but I will almost certainly take a wide receiver in the 4th round unless there's incredible. Oh, Amari Cooper. Wow. Oh, now, God darn it.
Oh, boy.
I was hoping he was going to take one of Allen or Etienne. I have to take Josh Allen. I have to take Josh Allen here.
That's an awesome value. This is like last year, or maybe 2 years ago, fantasy quarterback advice, which is you can't believe the value at the quarterback. It's just sitting there. You have to do it. And this is an example of that. This is rare to see, though. Usually you'll see Josh Allen go a lot sooner. He almost went 4 picks ago to me. So I I love that you got him there. And this is just, if you're in your draft and a quarterback is just sitting there and you can't believe he's there, don't think twice. Just take the quarterback.
All right, so Amari Cooper gets one spot ahead of Josh Allen. We like him in the 4th round anyway. This is the middle of the 3rd round. Here's DK Metcalf. So I know there are a lot of picks that we think are a little too early. Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper, and DK Metcalf. Now, if this is happening in your league, it's a wide receiver heavy league. All right, Travis Etienne is falling. Jahmyr Gibbs, Ramondre Stevenson, they're all still on the board. Aaron Jones. Heath, you're on deck. Jahmyr Gibbs is the pick. All right, Heath, you've got Pollard and Lamb. So let's see. Dak, is it too early for Dak Prescott for you?
It's a little too early for Dak Prescott. I just cannot. And I'm generally the guy that really struggles to answer when people say, what is your favorite draft position this year? I cannot say enough how much I hate drafting at the end of the draft this year, and especially hate the 3-4 turn when you're drafting at the end of the draft this year. It's just absolutely awful. I'm going to take Christian Watson here just because I think at this point you might as well just shoot for whatever you think upside is at this turn, because you're not really going to get good value. And then I'm sticking with Miles Sanders in round 4.
It's funny because the draft we did yesterday, I picked 12th and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either.
But there must be guys here that you like at the 3-4 turn.
So for me yesterday, it was half PPR versus PPR. So I don't know how much that would have changed things, but I started 4 wide receivers in a row, which were Diggs, AJ Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson. So that was my first 4 picks. And then came back with 4 running backs of Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and Isaiah Pacheco. And I was thrilled to death with that start.
Well, hopefully not to death.
I can't believe that Travis Etienne is still available as we're at pick 39. I have the 40th pick.
Another value pick. Adam, go for it.
Right. So one of my big, in a league where you have to start 3 receivers, even if you just have 2 receivers in a flex and it's PPR, I really want 2 receivers in the first 4 rounds. I'm not going to have a good receiving core. And I just have to be okay with that because Josh Allen to me was great value, and Travis Etienne to me is like an early 3rd round pick. Maybe I'm too high on him, but he's certainly worth the 40th overall pick to me. So it was either him or Hopkins. And now I have Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, and Stephon Diggs.
But we did this Tuesday night, though, with the same thing. It was very receiver heavy, if you recall, in that draft that we did on our live stream. And again, our ADP on CBS is combining all the drafts, so non-PPR, super flex, all those things. So take that into account. Based on average draft position, in the first 4 rounds, there are 17 receivers being drafted. In the draft we did Tuesday night, there were 25. And so that shows you, I think, in a 3-receiver PPR league, there are going to be a lot of wide receivers getting pushed up, probably in some spots that we don't particularly love, as we're seeing here. So I think the thing that you're doing is, how do you separate yourself from that scenario where everybody's going to probably have a decent receiving core and you might not? You take 2 running backs you consider to be top 12, top 10. I don't know where you have Chubb and Etienne ranked, but a top 2 quarterback and, top 5 wide receiver. That's a pretty good place to be.
I think Etienne would be 12th for me with Mixon being 11th, unless they're 10 and 11. But I think Mixon 11, Etienne 12, something like that. So to me, I have 2 top 12 running backs, a top 5 wide receiver, and a top 2 quarterback. Dave, you're up. You're on deck. After I took Etienne, we'll take a look at the 4th round. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to pause the draft and recap for everybody at home. The 3rd round was Jonathan Taylor, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurts, T. Higgins, Mark Andrews, Keenan Allen in full PPR, to Casey Simons, who is running the FFT championship, by the way, the one I told you about earlier, who started his team with Kupp, Waddle, and Keenan Allen in PPR. That's scary. And ended up with Ramondre Stevenson in the middle of round 4. Amari Cooper, we felt was too early in round 3, right? I'm not speaking out of turn there, right? Too early for Cooper.
Yep.
Josh Allen, 4th to last pick of round 3. DK Metcalf, we like him better in maybe late round 4 or 5. Jahmyr Gibbs, right spot for him. And then Heath took Christian Watson. And then at the first pick of round 4, he took Miles Sanders. And then Jerry Jeudy. At this point, 3 quarterbacks are off the board. This is a 6-point per passing touchdown league. Maybe this was a surprise, fellas. Justin Herbert went with the 3rd pick of round 3. 4, sorry. So he was the 4th quarterback off the board. Is that, I know that's not how you guys rank it, but is it okay with you in a 6-point per passing touchdown league?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got a pretty big gap between Jackson and Fields, but ahead of him.
Yeah. And then I took ETN, and then Lamar Jackson went as QB5, and then there's Ramondre Stevenson. Even the people who were down on Stevenson after the Zeke acquisition, do we think this is a good spot, middle of round 4 for Stevenson?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Around too late.
Yeah, especially in full PPR. This is value. That's good value.
All right, I'm going to resume the draft here with Doug on the clock, but Doug is basically us. So I will give him Heath's highest ranked player, which is Christian Kirk. No, that's his highest ranked wide receiver. Let's get his highest ranked overall player.
Aaron Jones.
Doug has Eckler, Mahomes, Mark Andrews. All right, here's my question, though. He doesn't have a wide receiver. So do we have to give him your highest ranked wide receiver?
Give him Aaron Jones.
He's going 0 receiver?
2 top 15 running backs and QB1 and tight end 2.
He's got Aaron Jones. I'm going to take a quick break here. We'll come back with Dave Richards' pick after this. Dave is on the clock. Dave has Kelsey, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, and what are you going to do here, Dave?
You made it very easy for me by not giving DJ Moore to Doug. That's what I think you should have done. I have DJ Moore ranked out of Christian Kirk in full PPR, and he's good enough as a number 1 wide receiver when you've gone in a different direction in the first 3 rounds. So if you're going kind of a 0 wide receiver build and DJ Moore's there in round 4, you should have taken him. And that would have put me in a tough spot. I might have reached for DeAndre Hopkins if you had done that, but you didn't. And so DJ Moore is coming aboard. And now I've gone full 0 RB, Kelsey, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, DJ Moore. Is it weird that I like this, Adam? No,
you got 2 more
back?
rounds to go 0 RB though.
At least 1 more. Yeah, you at least got to take your quarterback or another wide receiver.
I can't guarantee I'm going 1 more round. I don't know if I have it in me. We'll see.
You should. I mean, don't do it just to be a goofball. Like, take the best player. You know?
Being
It's
a
a good
goofball,
build. Why would you not do it
already? And
Yeah.
a kicker. You know, the Doug's team is the goofball team, sort of.
I think Doug's team looks. I think it's a really good team.
It's not bad. It's Eckler, Aaron Jones, Patrick Mahomes, and Mark
Who's
Andrews.
his number 1 receiver going to be?
Probably like Drake London.
If we're going on
Warren,
Heath's rankings, he's going to get Christian Kirk in round 5.
Well, he won't
Nobody
take
else
Christian
is
Kirk
taking
because it's
Christian
moving
Kirk that
towards
early.
me. It'll be Dave's number 1 wide receiver.
It'll be, if that's the case, then it'll be DeAndre Hopkins if I don't take DeAndre Hopkins, except
Gone.
Nate just took DeAndre Hopkins.
Najee Harris fell to the 45th overall pick after Dave took DJ Moore. DeAndre Hopkins comes off the board. Jamie's on the clock. Jamie, you have Chase, Jacobs, and Olave.
Yeah, this worked out really well because I have the opportunity to take my favorite running back in this range, which is J.K. Dobbins, which is what I'm going to do. And then I still have the opportunity to take another player at that position as well, coming back, along with the potential of a quarterback as well. So I'm very thrilled with how this worked out.
Yeah.
Well, that would give you 3 running backs and 2 receivers in your first 5 picks. If you went with a running back in the next round, is that something you're comfortable with?
Absolutely. At this spot, knowing that I have Chase and Olave, for sure.
Was there any thought to looking at the guy who's picking 1 and started with two running backs and a wide receiver? And
no, because I'm
a
a Dobbins guy. So if I want to make sure I get him, I'm going to draft him. You know,
Right. And you're going to be able to get the other guy coming back anyway because he's got 2 running backs.
You can say the guy's name. I think it's more important in a mock draft to just say the guy's name for our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, no, it's Dameon Pierce if he's there.
Oh, okay. All right, hey, Heath, what do you think of this horrible report about the Browns passing game from The Athletic?
It's concerning. Like, we've got to take out everything with a grain of salt when it comes to just things that are reported. But the last time we saw Deshaun Watson playing football, he was not good at playing quarterback and passing. And like, we were hoping that was just rust and it was all going to disappear and he was going to be fine this year. And so I talked about it, I think, on Tuesday night on the Breakout Show or Wednesday night or whenever that was, that I was ranking him 12 because I wasn't sure if he was going to be a top 5 quarterback or if he was going to be on the waiver wire. And I think that like that risk still exists. If we were going through camp and everything was just glowing about Watson, and we're hearing he looks like the guy he was in Houston, and maybe even if we saw him play in the preseason and he threw the ball and completed a pass more than 3 yards downfield, then I would have reason to get encouraged about Watson being himself again. But I have none of those reasons right now. The uncertainty remains. I think he's very much like Anthony Richardson in that he could be a league winner and you could need a second quarterback.
He also has not had Amari Cooper, and Elijah Moore's been in and out. So hopefully things get better. But that was, I mean, I think we've said negative reports from beat writers mean more than positive reports because this is a time of optimism. And what was written about the Browns passing game was concerning. All right. So there were a couple of picks after Jamie took Dobbins at the 4-5 turn. Michael took Jefferson, Mixon, Taylor with his first 3 picks. And then at the 4-5 turn, he took Deontay Johnson and Drake London. By the way, Mark Cabali, who covers the Steelers for The Athletic, wrote a lot of really nice things about Kenny Pickett and George Pickens and Calvin, Austin Ridley. So in the passing.
What?
No, Austin. What am I saying?
Calvin
Austin. Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin Ridley.
Steve Austin.
Okay, my bad. In the passing game. So, okay, Jamie, my question for you was going to be, if London or Johnson had been available to you, would you have taken either of them ahead of Dameon Pierce, who you ended up taking as your?
No, I'm very happy with this build. You know, I think the thing that for me that I'm comfortable with is if I have at least 2 wide receivers, and these are 2 of basically my top 12 guys. I think Olave is 13 for me. So, you know, very comfortable with how this start goes. And then now I have the opportunity to take 2 running backs and then one who could be a flex. I don't know which of the 3 that I will end up playing. Obviously, I have to make a little bit of an insurance plan in case Josh Jacobs does have a holdout. But I'm thrilled with the opportunity to play all 3 of these guys. And I love taking shots starting as early as round 8 on some of those wide receivers that are going after pick 100. So I'll draft them earlier. And so then I know I have the opportunity to kind of cycle through that number 3 wide receiver spot. So I don't necessarily need to prioritize running back anymore. I'm not going to stop drafting them, but I don't need to prioritize a position. And now I can just sort of stockpile more wide receivers that can be either my number 3 and my flex, or, you know, maybe just one of those positions.
All right, we got a running back run here in round 5. Drake London, the first pick, and then 4 running backs in a row. Dameon Pierce to Jamie. Nate takes Breece Hall. Adam, not me, takes Alexander Madison, and Dave takes James Conner. And that's a really nice run there of you know, maybe you don't like all of them, but there are definitely going to be some running backs there that you like. So Pierce, Hall, Madison, and Conner. We gave Doug, the guy who doesn't have a wide receiver, we gave him Terry McLaurin. And then Casey makes an interesting pick. Casey takes his 4th wide receiver with Chris Godwin, Kupp, Waddle, Keenan Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, and Chris Godwin. And just to set the board for you a little bit here, quarterback, we still have Justin Fields, right?
Burrow and Fields.
Burrow and Fields, and Trevor Lawrence. Am I on the clock? Okay, we had Mike Williams come off the board. Mike Williams going 56th overall. Was that too early, guys?
A little bit.
Just
Feels
a little.
too early.
Again, though, you got to put it in context. All these receivers are getting pushed up. So if you feel like this is a guy that you want to take, he's probably not going to get to you in round 6.
Do you like him better than Christian Kirk? I know Heath's answer.
Well, can I answer that? Because I'm on the clock and I have to take a receiver.
So you're probably going to take Christian Kirk.
He's the highest ranked for all 3 of you. I am definitely going to take Christian Kirk, and I would have taken Kirk over Williams.
Right.
Yeah, same. But still, it's, you know, we're probably talking a couple picks that Williams maybe went too soon.
Right. Like maybe you try to get him back on the turn on the way back in round 6, but he might not have made it. But I would have taken Kirk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, Ken Walker. Maybe I should have taken.
See, I'm surprised you should. I thought you would have done that.
Damn it. I really, honestly, I really struggle to pay attention when I'm hosting and drafting, and I am sorry.
So would you have taken that? I mean, you're very dead set on I need a receiver.
Right.
Would you have gone Walker and then just say, okay, screw it, I'm going to see what receiver comes back to me in round 6?
Here's the complication. Yes, I would have. The complication is I'm looking at Waller and Pitts potentially being available to me in the next round, and I really want one of them. So then I have to ask this question. All right, if I take Walker here and then a tight end, holy cow, am I going to have a weak wide receiving core?
But so what?
Yeah, but right. You know what? So what? Get your favorite
Well-
players. We have a waiver wire for a reason. You can be strong at flex, be strong at tight end.
That's the thing. It's yes, you have to start obviously 3 receivers or 3 receiver league. You have to start a flex. You have to start a second running back. I mean, if you're getting great players at those positions, why would you overlook it?
He already had the second running back. In fact, Adams loaded at running back, and he needed 2 more spots to fill at receiver.
But he has a conviction that Ken Walker's going to have a huge season, and that's his flex. And that's still just as good as a borderline top 30 wide receiver at this point to be his second wide receiver.
Yeah, but is Kirk a borderline top 30?
Adam, you have Ken
He's
Walker.
a little better than that.
You have Ken Walker as what, a top 20 wide running back at this point, top 15? How high do you have him in your your make-believe rankings?
Probably around 20th, but I would say I'd take him as early as like the 4-5 turn. But yeah, you know what? That's the thing. If comparing him to Christian Kirk, you know, I Kirk is still risky.
You're up again, by the way.
Yeah, it's not like I was going to take Ken Walker or DeAndre Hopkins or something. You know, I think I should have taken Walker there, and I am going to take Kyle Pitts here. Let's recap some picks though, because Heath had a really nice turn with Hawkinson and Dotson. After I took Kirk, Ken Walker went, Justin Fields, TJ Hawkinson. So it was time for the tight ends to come off the board. We had Kelsey in round 1, we had Andrews in round 3, and we had nobody until the last pick of round 5. So Heath, you get Hawkinson and Dotson. We'll talk about your team in a second. Then Darren Waller, Brandon Ayuk, and Kyle Pitts came off the board. All right, Heath, picking 12th. You said you didn't love it, but you've got Pollard and Miles Sanders. You've got Lamb and Christian Watson, and now Jahan Dotson, and you've got TJ Hawkinson. How do you feel about that?
I was very thrilled that TJ Hawkins fell to the end of round 5. I've never been a huge Hawkinson guy, and I don't like it when he goes in round 4. But if I can get Hawkinson at pick 60, that's I absolutely love that. You know how much I like Jahan Dotson. So I've got CeeDee Lamb, a number 1 wide receiver. I've already got 2 of my second-year wide receivers. Like, whether you like my team is going to come down to obviously the Miles Sanders debate, because he's the polarizing player there, I think. But no, I love the receiving core, happy with the tight end, and I've got a plan for everything else.
Okay, after I took Kyle Pitts, that gave me Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, and Kyle Pitts. Javonte Williams was taken. Javonte Williams went ahead of Rashad White, ahead of James Cook, David Montgomery, Alvin Kamara. Did Javonte Williams go too early, guys?
I think it's fine.
A little bit, but that's fine.
Okay. George Kittle. So look at that. That's 4 tight ends in a span of 7 picks, I think. Yep. James Cook. I gave Doug James Cook. So that gives him 3 wide receivers and only 3 running backs, only 1 wide receiver through 6 rounds. Mahomes, Eckler, Aaron Jones, James Cook, Mark Andrews, and only Terry McLaurin at wide receiver. Dave, I know you were excited about the pick you just made. You had Kelsey, 3 receivers, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, DJ Moore. You had 1 running back in James Conner, and you took?
Joe Burrow. Fell to me at pick number 68 overall. And I had to take him. I did a quick double check before I picked. I wanted to see if the 4 managers drafting after me in round 6 had quarterbacks or not. 3 of them, including Jamie, did not have a quarterback. So I was under the impression that Joe Burrow had 0% of a chance of making it back to me. I don't know how he made it to me, but I'm happy to put him on my team. I will struggle at running back with this team, but I'm loving what I've done.
Dallas Goedert gets picked, so now we might have a little bit of a lull before we see more tight ends. All right, Jamie, you just took Trevor Lawrence. So Jamar Chase and Chris Olave for you, Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, Dameon Pierce, and Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I'm assuming you would have taken Burrow there.
Oh, absolutely.
So then you take Lawrence. All right, we'll see what happens here at the 6-7 turn with Michael on the clock with 3 receivers and 2 running backs. He has Mixon and Taylor at running back. He has Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, and Drake London at receiver. There's a tier of tight end and a tier of quarterback that are gone. So that's interesting the way it played out for Michael. So we'll see what he does here. Like the best quarterback available would be maybe Tua or Watson or Richardson. And the best tight end would be like Freiermuth or Njoku or Ingram. And he took Marquise Brown. So yeah, like what do? You just build your depth at running back and receiver here? You don't reach, obviously.
I wouldn't, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at it and I was thinking I would take one running back and one wide receiver here.
100%.
But it wasn't necessarily, might not be the guys he would take, but that's the position I would take.
Yeah, he took Marquise Brown. See the best running backs available. We got David Montgomery, Rashad White, Alvin Kamara, Cam Akers, and he took David Montgomery. So that's a really good job. Marquise Brown and David Montgomery. He's got 4 wide receivers and 3 running backs, and he'll be in very nice position. I would say in 24 picks, I think there's a very good chance that Tua is there. But we know there's plenty of good quarterbacks left for Michael. All right, Jamie, walk us through your thought process here with your team of Lawrence, Chase, Olave, Jacobs, Dobbins, Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting running back options here, even though I already have 3, but I still may take another one just because I like the opportunity of what could be a potential league winner at some point here. So even though I don't have my 3rd wide receiver yet, I'm going to take Alvin Kamara just with the idea of if he hits, he could be obviously pretty special. So now I really am not going to worry about running back for the rest of the draft for a long, long time.
And for the record, the best wide receivers available in Jamie's rankings were Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Mike Evans, Gabe Davis, etc. I saw something, not like a beat writer necessarily, but one of those USA Today Vikings wires saying that KJ Osborne has had a great camp and he deserves to start. And Addison's at the concussion protocol for what it's worth. So is anybody get cold feet there?
I think it sounds like Osborne has beat out BC Johnson. Definitely going to be that number 2 wide receiver for the entire season.
Okay. At the very least, maybe we should be at least mentioning Osborne as a late round pick.
Look, they throw the ball so much. He wasn't bad as a 3rd receiver last year. So if there's any opportunity, because they give Addison a little bit of a delayed start with the concussion and with learning the playbook in the beginning part of the season, he can maybe give you a few good weeks in a deeper league.
All right, George Pickens. So he's the pick after Kamara. Then Rashad White. Oh, did you take Pickens, Dave?
I did not.
Oh,
he was on my list, but I didn't get him.
Is anybody starting to feel more optimistic about the Steelers' passing game?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, there's that. If we're going to talk about beat reports from The Athletic, the one that said that Kenny Pickett had an amazing camp certainly sounds good. Pickens has had a lot of buzz. He was also mentioned in that same report about how his game has changed. He's changed his route running. He's been assigned different routes to run. And there's talk that he could be their best receiver. And we've had this debate on the show. And Deontay's going to get his too. You even saw it in the preseason game. But if Kenny Pickett has both those guys, and they've got other good options on top of that with Freiermuth at tight end, Jaylen Warren out of the backfield, this team might throw a little bit more than we thought. And we've said that about a couple of other teams. And that'll go double if if he doesn't live up to the expectation that we had for him when he came out. So yeah, this is a passing offense I don't mind taking a chance on.
All right, I want you guys to help me out with my pick here, and I want you to tell me what you think about the Eagles running backs. So we did have a preseason game last night. After Dave took Rashad White, it was Jordan Addison. Sorry, after Pickens, it was Gabe Davis, then Rashad White, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Khalil Herbert. I'm on the clock. I have Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, and Kyle Pitts. Still don't have my 3rd receiver. Still don't have my flex. I like the running back so much more than the wide receivers here, so I'm probably going to just take my flex. Best wide receivers are Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Mike Thomas. Best running backs are Akers and DeAndre Swift for me. What did you make of the fact that Swift did not play last night and the other 3 running backs did?
It seemed as if that was their plan prior to the preseason, that they were going to play Swift game 1 and then Gainwell and Boston Scott in game 2. I think the fact that Rashad Penny only played, 6 snaps is a pretty good sign that he's probably going to make the team. Trey Sermon did some good things. The touchdown run was nice. He did some awful things. The fumble and some bad pass protection was terrible. So he's probably not going to make the team. I think we still don't have a definitive answer. If I had to ballpark it right now, based on what their depth chart seems to say, I would say Swift is the number 1 guy. Gainwell's the number 2 guy. Penny's the number 3 guy.
And I just don't know. I think you made the right pick there, Adam. I don't know when comparing Swift and Akers that you can say that Swift in his situation has more upside or a higher floor than Akers.
Yeah,
I don't think you can.
Yeah,
I think Akers has a much higher ceiling than Swift does right now.
Right. I think he has a higher floor too, though. I think he has both.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, would you take any Philadelphia running back before pick 80? And here we're at 84 right now.
Swift in this range, yeah. But again, we're seeing, again, and this might be the trend. This is now 2 PPR drafts that we've done in a row with various people. It's not like we're doing the same people over and over again. The receiver push is real, and the running backs are falling. And so it makes sense if you can go wide receiver early. And I mean, who would have thought in the after the NFL draft or even before that, when we were doing some of these drafts, you'd be getting a guy like Cam Akers, a guy like David Montgomery, Rashad White, some of the players that we liked in round 7. Like, those are typically like round 5 picks.
So I paused the draft because Heath is on the clock, and I want Heath to walk us through his thoughts here. The round 7 is Montgomery. Round 7 so far, as we thought, no tight ends because the top 7 are off the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And no quarterbacks because the top 8 are off the board. So Montgomery, Kamara, Pickens, Gabe Davis, Rashad White to Dave. Jamie took Kamara. Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Khalil Herbert. I took Cam Akers, then Michael Pittman, then Isaiah Pacheco. Heath, you're going to make your 2 picks, and then we're going to take our last break. Your team so far, you went with a couple of Cowboys, Lamb and Pollard, then Christian Watson and Miles Sanders. Jahan Dotson is your number 3 receiver. TJ Hawkinson is your tight end. You do not have a quarterback. You do not have a flex right now. You are, sir, on the clock.
I'm leaning pretty strong towards taking 2 wide receivers. There are 3 wide receivers who will be moving up my rankings either this afternoon or in the morning when I do my next update. And they're all at the top right now of my wide receiver rankings. Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, and Zay Flowers. Those 3 guys I have had as late round 7 picks. They're now here at the 7-8 turn. I'm going to take 2 of them. The only thing and you might have to give me one more reset here, but the one thing that is stuck in my craw that is maybe preventing me from doing that is the fact that I look at Tua and Anthony Richardson, and I don't think either one of them are going to come back to me. And I really, really would like to have one of those guys. But the fact that I already started with Lamb and Pollard, I may just embrace the Cowboys stack, assuming both of those guys get taken. So I think I'm going to go with the veterans. It will make my team less popular in the chat, but Michael Thomas and Mike Evans. And if one of those 2 guys is what he has always been, then good grief, my receiving core is insane.
Yeah, I would have done the exact same thing. Nice job.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we will finish up. We're into round 8. I hope somebody takes DeAndre Swift before it gets to me. Otherwise, I'm going to, be like, damn it, because I need a receiver. All right. We'll see what happens. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. All right, we've got Team 11 on the clock. That would be Austin. He went with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we like that start. Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, this team's good, man. Justin Fields, Darren Waller, Isaiah Pacheco. So the starting lineup for Team 11 is Fields, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Pacheco, which is not, a little weak there, but that's okay. 3 receivers are St. Brown, Adams, and Jeudy. Woo! And he gets Darren Waller, and now Antonio Gibson. And this is where, if we could talk more about this DeAndre Swift situation, I think if you look at it on paper and you say who has more upside, who has more downside, Cam Akers versus DeAndre Swift, it's very easy to see the Akers, argument, which we already made 5 minutes ago. But if I wanted to argue for Swift over Akers, over Gibson, who just went, it's this. I think Swift is a great player. And I know the Eagles are among the most explosive offenses in football. So it might be hard to see it in a projection or right now just to see it. But as the season unfolds, he might just be amazing. And that is what I was worried about missing out on when I took Akers.
And now you're going to miss out on Swift because he just got sniped right in front of you.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. But I would have taken him over Gibson because I don't want a commander, basically.
Right.
Heath, you would have taken Gibson or Swift?
I would definitely take Gibson over Swift. I would have taken Gibson and Swift over Pacheco, and both of those guys over Khalil Herbert. But this range of running backs, I was the huge DeAndre Swift guy a couple of years ago, and I do think that it's possible that full talent profile still exists. I'm just not sure that he's the type of guy that is going to get run out there on 70% of the snaps even. And if he does, I'm not sure he makes it more than 3 or 4 weeks.
All right. Last pick after Gibson and Swift, we had Sky Moore to me, Evan Ingram, Anthony Richardson to Casey. We
Good
like
pick.
Casey. Yeah, Casey's got a fun team. Casey's got Kupp, Waddle, Keenan Allen, Ramondre Stevenson. He only has one running back through 8 rounds. Ramondre Stevenson. He has Chris Godwin at his flex, George Kittle. So let me ask you this about Casey. Again, Kupp, Waddle, Keenan Allen. Oh, I have to make a pick for Doug. Schaefer, make a pick for Doug. Can you do that? Give me a thumbs up. Schaefer. Okay, thank you. Kupp, Waddle, Keenan Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Godwin. That's 3 receivers, a flex, and 1 running back. George Kittle. Now he's got a tight end. Takes a bench player, JSN. And then before his next pick, Khalil Herbert, Cam Akers, Isaiah Pacheco, Antonio Gibson, and DeAndre Swift are all gone. Was JSN a mistake for Casey, considering he already had 4 wide receivers and he only had 1 running back, and Herbert, Akers, Pacheco, Gibson, and Swift were all on the board, and now they're not?
Nope, not that
He
big.
should have gone Akers.
Yeah, that's fair. Akers is the one that
that's a gift for the way that this team is built. That's just an absolute gift.
But then he doesn't get Smith and Jigba, and if that's somebody he really wanted, he did what he had to do.
I will say I would
That's
guess
the only
Casey would
make.
like for us to have Ben Gretch on the podcast again, because that was a very Ben Gretch move. You want one more potential elite wide receiver than you have room to start in case something goes wrong with one of them. And I do think that JSN is that kind of dude if everything goes right. But yeah, like from a strictly projection or looking at the whole season from this point today, Akers makes a lot more sense.
All right, so round 8 is Evans, Gibson, Swift, Sky Moore, Evan Ingram, Anthony Richardson. Remember, we went a whole round without a quarterback or a tight end. Now we're 9 deep at quarterback and 8 at tight end off the board so far. Brandon Cooks, Samaje Perine, Zay Flowers, and Dave's team. Now, Dave went not 0 RB, but
Pretty
no
close.
running backs in the first 4 rounds, and now you have James Conner, Rashad White, and Samaje Perine. I bet you feel good about that.
I feel good. I don't feel great, but what soothes the pain is having T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, and DJ Moore, and Travis Kelce, and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So I'm loaded everywhere else, and I can get by with Connor, White, and Perine as the start of my running back core.
All right, I'm going to change. I suspended the draft. We're going to put 30 seconds on the clock. Thomas, give me a thumbs up. Can you take care of that for me? Thank you, sir. We'll recap the rest of round 8. Again, Anthony Richardson, Brandon Cooks, Dave took Samaje Perine, Zay Flowers off the board, Dalvin Cook. All right, we'll pause there. Dalvin Cook in late round 8, Breece Hall to the same team in early round 5. So that gives him McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Dalvin Cook at running back. No quarterback yet. Goddard at tight end, and Ridley, Debo, Hopkins, and Pickens at wide receiver. Jamie, what do you think about that team having McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Dalvin Cook in rounds 1, 5, and 8?
I mean, it's a huge home run if Breece Hall is anything close to what he was, and it's not having to worry about the 2 guys being in complete timeshare and screwing each other. So it's not ideal for me, but I don't mind it. You know, I just wish he would have probably taken 2 different wide receivers in the spots that he took him when he took Ridley and Samuel. Like if that is Higgins and Olave,
Right.
It's a big difference.
Yep. Yeah, right. We thought Ridley and Samuel were
for me at least, you know, again.
All right, Jamie, you took Juju Smith-Schuster as your number 3 wide receiver. And now you're on the clock.
I was happy with it. Like I said, I'm perfectly fine living in this range if this is the build that I have. And so I took 2 guys that I like a lot. I thought Sky Moore would fall a little bit more. You took him in the 8th round. I thought Zay Flowers might fall to me. I thought he was actually going to end up being a pretty good steal. When Heath was mentioning it at the turn the previous time. So take Juju and Nico Collins with these 2 picks, and I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah, Jamie took Juju. Then it was Tua Tagovailoa to the number 1 team to team in this first spot in the draft. Finally gets his quarterback at the last pick of round 8, and then Michael took Cortland Sutton. Jamie took Nico Collins. Heath is not going to get Dak Prescott because he just came off the board. Dave, you are on the clock. A.J. Dillon came off the board. Dave, you need nothing, really. You've got everything filled. So what are you going to do?
I'm reaching a little bit. I reached for one of my favorite running back stashes in Roschon Johnson. Love the way that he worked in the first preseason game. I know the coaching staff in Chicago absolutely loves him. Why wouldn't they? They drafted him. And I don't think his path to being a lead back in Chicago is that cluttered. I think Deontay Foreman might actually be on the way, out of the way, I should say. Herbert's still one of my favorite guys to take, and I still believe that Herbert can get close to 1,000 total yards this year. But if he misses time, I think Roschon slides right in, and I think he could be very, very good in this offense. So I'm going to have a very patient approach with him. I'm drafting him here at about 100th overall, and he will sit on my bench pretty much for the entire season. Hopefully he'll be in my lineup sooner than later.
All right, I have to make a pick for Doug here. Somebody read me Doug's team.
Doug has on his fantasy team
Mahomes, Andrews, Aaron Jones, Terry McLaurin, James Cook, Jordan Addison,
Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, I gave him Charbonnet. It's fine. All right. So, why is Jaylen Warren not in the same discussion as as the three guys who just went? A.J. Dillon, I mean, I get that. Dillon's got a big role. Roschon Johnson, Zach Charbonnet, though, if we think Najee might stink, Heath, I'll get this question to you. And based on one drive in the preseason, Warren was a part of it. I feel like Warren is just going too late compared to these other, handcuffs with some role.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I would take Warren in the same range as Roschon and A-Chain and Penny, usually around later than this. And I think Dave said he was reaching a little bit for Roschon compared to his ranking. So I think Dave probably agrees usually around later than this too. So it's not, for me, it's maybe more that these handcuffs are going a little earlier than I normally take them than it is that Warren is going later. But I might have to take, the way they're going off the board so fast, I might have to take Warren at the 9-10 turn.
Well, I just got auto-picked Brian Robinson. That sucked because I absolutely would have taken Treylon Burks.
Well, just take him.
Nah, it's all right. I'll just keep this draft going.
I really wish you would.
It's a mock.
All right, fine. I'll back it out. I actually, am I going to take Elijah? Yeah, I'll take Treylon Burks here. I like Treylon Burks. So I definitely need some wide receivers. Elijah Moore is still on the board. I'm going to take Treylon Burks, though. Okay, sorry about that to Anthony, who did take Treylon Burks. Now you have to take someone else. Please don't hate me for it. That was kind of me.
Wow, so you not only went back and fixed it, but you took somebody who was taken after you. That's the
you told me to.
Cardinal sin of resetting. Like, you can't take somebody who somebody else took.
You told me to. I wasn't going to do it. You would.
Oh, sure. Blame Heath.
I always blame Heath.
Yeah, that's kind of says something about you.
All right. Anyway, let's wait for Anthony to make a new pick. How you guys doing? Big weekend plans? I'm going to the Giants game tonight.
Nice. Good for you. I think the starters are going to play.
They are for both teams.
Yeah. Giants had an interesting week. Out of nowhere, they got a joint practice with the Bucs in because the Jets didn't want to practice with them.
Yeah, very cool.
That was fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm getting killed in the chat for what I did. Deservedly so.
And I'm enjoying it.
Quentin Johnston off the board. Elijah Moore off the board. Heath on the clock with 2 picks. Rounds 9 and 10.
I have to admit something that I encourage you to reset that because I already had 5 wide receivers and I only had 2 running backs and I really wanted Brian Robinson. So I'm very happy that happened. And I think I'm at the point now where I've been pretty skeptical of Deshaun Watson, but thank you to The Athletic. If I can draft Deshaun Watson in round 10, I still think that upside still exists. Now I'm going to have to take another quarterback later. I'm very disappointed, and I do think I'm probably going to move Anthony Richardson up a little bit because I am disappointed that I don't have him, but I'm happy with Deshaun Watson.
All right, Brian Robinson, Deshaun Watson, Romeo Doubs gets drafted, pick 110 overall. Anthony's on the clock now. Whoever he takes, I'm just going to make him take someone else. I'm not going to draft this player. He took Pat Freiermuth. So let's look at some wide receivers here. I don't think it It makes sense. I have Sky Moore. I don't think it makes sense to take Kadarius Toney also. Jamison Williams is available. What do you guys make of the fact that he now has a hamstring injury?
I think he looked terrible in the preseason game.
No chance I'm drafting him in a redraft.
Yeah, I think I'm out on him.
Okay, I'll take Kadarius Toney, and I'm actually
Isn't that the definition of the friendship strategy?
what Moore and Toney?
Late rounds, high upside, like it's perfect.
Well, it's usually you're taking somebody early.
Yeah, it's usually early and late, where you like the value for both of them, and one of them is kind of guaranteed to be a starter if the other gets hurt or something like that. And I don't feel that way about any Chiefs wide receiver. But I'm actually hoping that I made that Toney pick, and that'll free up a roster spot when he's on PUP or IR to start the season. Let's maybe put in my pocket. Here's Jalen Warren off the board. Rashad Bateman, Jalen Warren. This will be our last round, and then we'll recap our teams through 10 rounds. Okay, so Dave, you're on deck. Really a little disappointed with this team that auto drafted, but we'll make a pick.
Well, it was for scientific purposes.
It's a
He took
fantastic
a quarterback
team.
and a tight end with his first 3 picks.
Give me a position for Doug.
Wide receiver.
In the grave.
Definitely needs a wide receiver here. I don't want to give him Beckham. God, I hate the wide receivers right now. I hate them all.
There are very few good players left.
Going off the
It's
board.
115th overall.
I went with Rondale Moore way down in the rankings,
Ugh.
for you guys.
Okay.
He wasn't that far down for me.
Poor
Okay.
Doug.
Beckham, Jamison Williams, Tank Dell, DJ Chark, Alan Lazard, Tyler Boyd, Adam Thielen. They are on the board. I took Rondale Moore. Dave, who are you going to take here?
Got a tough call to make. I'm going to need the clock to reset because I didn't know I had 8 seconds left when I was up. Tough call between my highest ranked running back, which is Tank Bigsby, Njoku, Kincaid. Let's see. What would I do? What would Dave do?
Oh, yeah, it's time for Kincaid to be taken here. We're at
Yeah, but I've got Kelsey. I think I got to take Bigsby, and he'll be my last running back that I draft.
Okay. Jamie, you're on. You're in the hole. Not quite on deck. Tank Bigsby, the pick. Round 10 so far is Watson, Dobbs, Freiermuth, Toney, Bateman, Jalen Warren, Rondale Moore, Tank Bigsby, and Tank Dell. Oh, Tankathon. A couple of Tank Bigsby and Tank Dell back to back.
That might be a good team name this year if you get those guys.
Jamie, now you're on deck as we wait for Nathan to pick. Nathan has McCaffrey. So Nathan, I think, probably needs a running back because he has McCaffrey and 2 Jets.
Might as well take Elijah Mitchell.
He took Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah, you're right. He should have taken Jamie, you're on the clock. You took David Njoku.
Yeah, that worked out well.
You're totally going to take Kincaid with your next pick if he's there, right?
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Hint, hint, Michael. You're on the clock for 2 picks and doesn't have a tight end. So we'll see what he does. I think even if he may not even be listening. He took Jamal Williams. I think Kincaid makes sense for him. But who else do we have at tight end? Let's see. We have Dalton Schultz. We have Dalton Kincaid. We have Sam Laporta, Juwan Johnson. Michael may not get any of them if he doesn't take a tight end here. He just took Jamal Williams and he took Dalton Kincaid. All right, Jamie. So now what do? You took your tight end and David Njoku in the last round. Kincaid's off the board. You go Laporta.
No, I'm going to take maybe a steal. We'll see how this works out. I don't know how good he is, but he might get the starting running back job for the Eagles. So I'll take Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Love that pick. We know that it's going to be a mess all year long, but look at the 2 running backs in front of Gainwell. Penny has had a hard time staying healthy. Swift, less of a hard time staying healthy, but still misses time. There could be weeks this year where Gainwell is their obvious lead back.
Okay, let's recap all of the teams through 10 rounds. The first pick, this is a 3-receiver PPR league. First pick was Justin Jefferson. Team 1 has Tua, Mixon, Taylor, Montgomery, and Jamal Williams at running back. Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, Drake London, Marquise Brown, Cortland Sutton at wide receiver, and Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Like, love, hate, like, give me a word.
If Taylor is right, I love it.
Yep.
Either you guys got a gut instinct on what happens there?
He has a very crappy year.
I'm leaning towards trade.
Okay. I love the team. Even with Dalton Kincaid, you might be weak at tight end, whatever. You got Tua, and you're loaded at running back and receiver. Team 2 was Jamie. Jamar Chase, Josh Jacobs, Chris Olave were his first 3 picks. His starting lineup would be Lawrence. I'll go, all right. Lawrence, Jacobs, Dobbins, Pierce, Chase, Olave, Juju, with David Njoku at tight end, and on the bench, Nico Collins and Kenneth Gainwell. Oh, and Kamara. I forgot about Kamara. Really strong team, I think, for Jamie. Anybody have any issues with Jamie's team?
Not enough purple, but I'll take it.
I think if there was an issue, it's Dobbins and Pierce in rounds 4 and 5. Maybe they don't catch a lot of passes and are more format specific. But we're nitpicking. I mean,
right. If we were going to nitpick Jamie's team, it's Josh Jacobs isn't with Las Vegas. And even if he was with them, can we really expect him to be as good next year or good this year as he was last year? Is J.K. Dobbins ever going to be the guy that we thought he'd be? Is Pierce going to be the guy? Like, he's got enough at running back. I love the running backs. He's got 4 really good ones, and all he needs is to start 2 of them each week, maybe 3. And the receivers are obviously dope. This is a great team.
Okay.
Thank
team
you, Dave.
3, Christian McCaffrey was the first pick for team 3. This team, we thought, reached for some picks. Dak Prescott, McCaffrey, Breece Hall, with also Dalvin Cook, Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, and George Pickens. Ridley was taken ahead of Olave. Deebo was taken ahead of T. Higgins. So in theory, that could have been, Olave and maybe Higgins, maybe not, but maybe Olave and Deebo, or Olave and.
I think what we end up seeing, though, just based on most ADPs, is Higgins goes before Olave.
Right. He could have had either Higgins or Olave. I don't think he would have gotten both. One of them would have been taken by Jamie. But anyway, this team is Dak Prescott, Christian McCaffrey and Breece Hall, Calvin Ridley, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, George Pickens, with Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, and Jeff Wilson on the bench. It's not a bad build, really. We just didn't love the wide receivers in rounds 2 and 3, I think, right?
No, the build is perfect. It's just, again, if those are swapped out, and to be honest, Adam, if he had gone Olave, I'd probably take Mark Andrews there to just avoid taking both Bengals.
Oh, right, because you had Chase already. You wouldn't have gone Higgins in round 3. Okay, so maybe you could have had Olave and Higgins.
Right.
All right. Team 4 was Adam, a different Adam.
Adam 101.
Tyreek Hill and Devontae Smith with his first 2 picks. His team is Jalen Hurts, Najee Harris, Alexander Madison, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, Tyler Lockett, Gabe Davis, and on his bench, and Dalton Schultz at tight end. On his bench, we've got A.J. Dillon, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell. We like this team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
See.
All right. Dave went with Kelsey, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, DJ Moore. So his starting lineup is Burrow at quarterback, Kelsey at tight end. Didn't pick a running back until round 5. James Conner, Rashad White at running back, and then bam, Brown, Higgins, DJ Moore at wide receiver. Flex could be Samaje Perine, Rashawn Johnson, Tank Bigsby, Odell Beckham. You like it, Dave?
I like it. Every time I look at the running backs and I go, oh, God, really? Connor and Rashad White are my lead backs and Perine in the flex. I have to give myself the reminder that I took Travis Kelce. And that's what it comes down to. Like, where I took Travis Kelce, debated about getting a running back there. The only reason why I took Kelce was to see what the team would look like if I drafted Travis Kelce instead of a running back. There was a spot late in the draft. It was right before Jamie took Njoku. Njoku and Kincaid were both on the board. At that point, I was kind of like, oh, you know what? Like, if I had just taken Austin Eckler in round 1, I could have gotten by with Njoku or Kincaid at tight end and been really happy with this team. But Kelsey's pretty awesome. And if he's got a year like last year in him, then he's putting up numbers like a top 5 type of wide receiver. Doing it at my tight end spot gives me a huge advantage over the rest of you blokes.
I think the nice thing that Dave did was he got lucky, but played the board. by not, because we said, oh, take a quarterback in round 5, really go 0 RB, and look what happened to him in round 6, ending up with Joe Burrow. The only thing is it's, and this is the same debate, you know, we had with, I think with Casey taking a 5th receiver as opposed to maybe a running back there. Would Dave have been better off with a receiver instead of James Conner? And I don't know if there was one at the time, but
I'll tell you who was there.
McLaurin.
no, to get the, I mean, I see who's there, but you know, McLaurin, Godwin, Mike Williams, those type of guys, Christian Kirk. Is that better than James Conner, you know, and just getting the stronger flex as opposed to even worrying about the running back? And that's where the 0 RB theory comes into play. It's like, do you have the strong flex, knowing it's a safer pick at the receiver spot, and then you still end up with Rashad White as your number 1, and even P. Ryan as your number 2, and then just, you know, instead of taking Beckham at that spot, maybe that's another running back dart throw. You know, you're just kind of building that running back core out that way. So it's just a matter of, you know, RB1 versus flex. And if James Conner hits, obviously you made the right choice, but you know, the safer play and maybe the still more upside play would have been the 4th receiver.
All right, let's go to team 6. Doug started with Austin Eckler. So this was the experimental team that we drafted for Doug. Eckler, Mahomes, Andrews is how we started, and then Aaron Jones. So no wide receiver until round 5. So his starting lineup is Patrick Mahomes, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones. Wide receivers are McLaurin, Jordan Addison, and Brandon Cooks. James Cook will be his flex. And Higbee. I'm sorry. He already has Andrews, right? So it's actually, I mean, look, McLaurin, Addison, Cooks, not great, but starting James Cook in your flex could be great. I don't know. I think it worked out. Did it work out, Heath?
Many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah. This was maybe my favorite team until, well, I still think that I'm sorry. I'm on to Casey's team in team 7. I still think Casey needs to take a quarterback like now. Because he has Anthony Richardson, but you know, we still have got some good ones left. Casey is going to roll out Anthony Richardson, Ramondre Stevenson, who we took in the middle of round 4. And then he's got a whole bunch of potential RB2s, Rashad Penny, Jalen Warren, Damian Harris, Chuba Hubbard. We think that he should have taken Cam Akers instead of a 5th wide receiver, but his wide receivers are Kupp, Waddle, Keenan Allen, and Chris Godwin. And George Jones is tight end.
And I do want to say he was listening, and he said in the chat of the draft, Ben Gretsch and I are very similar in our thoughts. I still follow his work. So I was right about the idea of like the JSN pick, I think. But it's a very good team.
Okay. John had Bijan Robinson in the 1st round, and he will trot out a lineup of Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, and Javonte Williams, who we took in round 6. Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, and Mike Williams. Khalil Herbert could be the flex, and Evan Ingram is the tight end. We've got A-Chain, Algier, Deuce Vaughn on the bench, Rashad Bateman. I don't love this team. I don't know what it is, guys. I didn't love Amari Cooper in round 3. I didn't love Mike Williams in round 5. I didn't love Javonte Williams in round 6.
Right.
Maybe that's why I didn't love the team. But am I wrong here? So this, again, is Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson. RB2 is tough. Javonte, Khalil Herbert, you know, could be RB2. But Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper, Mike Williams, Rashad Bateman are his only wide receivers. And he has Ingram at tight end. Yeah, I don't love it. I don't know how you guys feel.
I don't hate it. I mean, look, I think Cooper maybe went a little bit too soon, but there are people, I don't think we agree with this, but there are people that do think that Cooper belongs ahead of Metcalf and Watson and Judy. And if, you know, Deshaun Watson is right, his number 1 receiver has obviously been very fantastic the majority of his career. So Cooper still profiles as that guy. And so, look, Mike Williams, again, we probably, as we said, maybe went a couple spots too soon. But Bijan Wilson's a good place to be. Lamar Jackson's a good place to be. If Javonte's right, that means there's a lot of questions, but it could certainly still work out.
Yeah, I just think that if you can say Cooper should go ahead of Metcalf and Watson, but you could. But I don't think you should go ahead of Josh Allen. I don't think you should go ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs or Travis Etienne. Heath took Miles Sanders. So maybe just a different position there. And then he could have gotten probably round 4, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, is the combination of Josh Allen and what was the next receiver, DJ Moore? Yeah, it's probably better.
All right, next team is mine. Stephon Diggs was my first pick, 9th overall. Josh Allen at quarterback, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne at running back, Diggs, Christian Kirk, and then Sky Moore right now is my number 3 receiver. Kyle Pitts at tight end. I have Cam Akers at flex. I also have Traylon Burks and Kadarius Toney on the bench with Elijah Mitchell, Jerick McKinnon, Juwan Johnson. So I knew I was going to be weak at wide receiver 3. I didn't take that position until round 8, but I like the way my team turned out with Allen, Pitts, Diggs, Chubb, ETN anchoring it. Anybody have a problem with my team?
The only concern I have is you may only have 3 receivers to start the season if Burks and Toney are not ready for week 1.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
so that, like, taking that combination, I know why you took the 2 Chiefs guys. I get it. But that combination probably is not the best route to go when you're trying to get some upside plays, knowing that you only took those 3 guys with, your first 9 picks.
All right, guys.
It's a riskier team than you normally draft. I like it, but it's definitely got more boom bust, I think, than normal.
Let's go. I have to run to a
You
beeline,
you
so
also
I have
got
3 teams left.
significant gifts with how Allen and ETN fell.
Yeah.
I like the team, Adam.
Thank you.
Don't listen to the haters.
All right.
No,
10,
I
11,
like
12.
his team. It's just that I think is risky, and I also think, like, I understand the Elijah Mitchell pick. That probably would have been that's your team.
Yep.
I think, again, you probably should have prioritized. Like, I don't know why you're taking a second tight end.
Because I'm reading all these teams and have 10 seconds to pick every time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. We have 3 teams left. Team 10 started with Barkley, Derrick Henry. So this team will have Justin Herbert at quarterback, Barkley and Henry at running back, Metcalf, Ayuk, and Pittman at wide receiver, and Ken Walker at flex, which is very nice. Quentin Johnston on the bench. Oh, Pat Freiermuth is the tight end. So this team went with only 1 wide receiver in the first 5 rounds, but picked that flex of Ken Walker, and has Metcalf, Ayuk, and Pittman as the 3 receivers, and Freiermuth and Justin Herbert. So great running backs, great quarterback. I don't know.
If he just does one thing differently, I love this team.
Oh, what?
Garrett Wilson over Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, if he knew he could get Walker in round 5, maybe he would have done that. But yeah, in a 3-receiver PPR league, starting running back is risky, especially with the risks associated with Derrick Henry. Team 11 started with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Devontae Adams, then Jahmyr Gibbs. This team is Justin Fields, Gibbs, and Pacheco at running back. Strength of the team is wide receiver, obviously. St. Brown, Adams, and Judy, and Darren Waller. So this team is, strong at quarterback with Fields, potentially with Waller at tight end, amazing at wide receiver, St. Brown, Adams, and Judy. We think amazing. Jahmyr Gibbs as like an anchor RB. And then you got Pacheco and Gibson and Mostert, Ty Chandler. Also Elijah Moore and Romeo Dobbs. Heath, I like this team. I'm giving it an A. What do you think?
I thought maybe it was my least favorite team so far.
Really?
But I like Justin Fields. But again, like, that's more of a personal preference thing, probably. I'm the low guy on Judy, and I don't have Gibbs in round 3, and I've got Darren Waller as a bust, and I don't like Isaiah Pacheco. So I'm probably not going to like that team very much.
Does anybody like this team?
Very much so.
Heath, it's good that this team drafted right before you.
Right. Well, and I was gonna say, like, even Jamie doesn't like Devontae Adams with the 2nd pick of round 2.
Yeah, I don't like that player at that spot, but I like the build. I think, again, if you forget about where he drafts them, you come away from the draft knowing you got St. Brown, Adams, and Judy. That's a pretty good receiving core in this type of format. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm very excited about him. So, I think you got to, running backs can catch a lot of passes. Justin Fields is great value, knowing how these quarterbacks have gone off the board. I think Darren Waller is a top 3 tight end, so I love that there. And then again, knowing that he did sort of a hero RB build to get Pacheco and Gibson and then some high upside guys. Mostert could still be the best running back in Miami, and Chandler might, be pushing Alexander Madison by the middle of the season to be the starting running back there in Minnesota. So I don't particularly love all the players that he took, but I like the build. I like the concept.
If he's going to go hero RB, then the first mistake he made was not taking Pollard in round 1, because when he was up, Pollard was there, but so was Lamb, Amon-Ra, Devontae, Garrett Wilson. Guaranteed that one of those wide receivers would make it back to him in round 2. Why not take Pollard in round 1, then your favorite wide receiver in round 2, and then when you're up in round 3, if you want to take Gibbs, you could still take Gibbs, but Watson was there, Judy was there if you wanted to take him. I think that he would have had a better build out, better players with the same idea of going hero RB if he had taken Pollard first. If you're going to go hero RB, get the hero. Go get one of those guys. Yeah. Gibbs is not a hero.
No, but he didn't go hero RB. It just
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he went in with the idea of I'm going hero RB, which is the right way to go. Don't go in with I'm locked into this strategy. He went with the player he felt was the best on the board, which was Amon-Ra St. Brown, which I'm not going to argue. And then again, he took his favorite receiver in the next round. And so at that point, he's like, okay, who's the next best player? I'm just, putting myself in his head. I love those first 4 picks in theory, how he did it.
Right. You just wouldn't have taken Adams there.
If you
I
again,
agree
for
with
me,
you,
if it's St. Brown, AJ Brown, or Wilson there,
Yeah.
I love that.
I
Absolutely
mostly
love it.
agree.
guys, I'm sorry, I do have to run, so let's just do Heath's team here. It's a for work thing, I promise. Heath's team is Deshaun Watson at quarterback. He went with CeeDee Lamb and Pollard with his first 2 picks. Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones, baby. All right. Pollard and Miles Sanders. Lamb, Watson, Jahan Dotson. And the flex would be Michael Thomas or Mike Evans or maybe Brian Robinson. And TJ Hawkinson at tight end. You like it?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I like it.
I hated it as soon as we got to round 3, but it's fine. It's just
If you had ETN instead of Sanders, I know you have Sanders higher. I would love this team.
Yeah.
What, there's got to be more to it, Heath. What is it that you hate?
No, I just think you don't get as many opportunities to have great difference makers picking in that spot. And I've got a lot of guys that are fine. Like I was happy with TJ Hawkinson because he fell to the end of round 5.
Right.
But I don't think TJ Hawkinson's actually going to be like, he's probably going to be 2 points per game better than tight end 7 or something, or 1.5 points better or something. I didn't get the possible one of the great quarterbacks, and I didn't get one of my breakout quarterbacks in Richardson or Tua. So I'm just hoping that Deshaun Watson remembers how to process information and throw footballs. And so it's fine. Like maybe,
Jones, bro, you're good.
Maybe I could.
If you don't take the two old receivers and you do take your quarterback there, it's a much different team.
Yeah, I guess I should have taken Anthony Richardson over Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
could have done that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks to our participants in the draft today. Thanks to Schaefer for setting this all up. We got the mailbag coming up later this afternoon, but you'll hear it on Saturday. You can see it on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Later.